I want to start with a phrase that I guarantee is, just etched into the brain of every single person listening. You see it on classroom posters. It's the climax of every sports movie montage, and it's basically the bedrock of the modern work ethic.
I think I know exactly where you're going with this.
Hard work always pays off.
The ultimate promise. Yep. It's the maxim we're all raised on.
Right. It's this simple equation: input equals output. If you sweat more than the guy next to you, you win.
You stay later, you get the promotion.
Exactly. It's transactional. You put the coin in, you get the candy out.
And it's comforting in a way, isn't it? It suggests the world is fair. It implies you have 100% control over your destiny.
Just by controlling your effort.
It tells you that you don't need luck, you just need grit.
Exactly. But, and this is why we're doing this deep dive today,
Yeah.
there is a massive, almost terrifying tension in that statement. Because what happens when you follow that rule to the letter? I mean, you are the first car in the parking lot and the last one to leave.
And the payoff just never arrives.
It never arrives.
That's more than just a career setback. That's like a crisis of reality. It feels a betrayal.
Yeah.
You kept up your end of the bargain, and the universe just reneged.
We're diving into that betrayal today. The source material we have is called The Compass and the Engine. It's presented as a narrative case study, but honestly, it reads more like a post-mortem on the whole grind mindset. It really dissects the difference between motion and progress.
And that distinction is so crucial. The compass and the engine isn't saying work is optional. It's not some manifesto for laziness.
No, not at all.
But it is going to aggressively debunk what it calls the dangerous lie, that hard work alone is enough.
So we are going to find those missing ingredients, the things that turn pure exhaustion into actual impact. And to do that, we need to talk about the protagonist of this case study. Let's meet Rohit.
Rohit is a character that I think will make a lot of listeners squirm a little bit because he just feels so familiar.
He's the archetype of the grinder.
Completely. The text introduces him by setting the stage. Rohit knew he wasn't the smartest person in the room. He wasn't the most naturally talented, and he certainly wasn't the most connected.
So he looked at his hand and realized he only had one card to play.
Effort.
So he decided to play that card harder than anyone else. His rule was simple: no shortcuts, no excuses. If the other guy does 10 reps, Rohit does 12.
If the office opens at 8, he's there at 7, making the coffee.
And let's be honest, in most corporate cultures, how is that kind of behavior treated?
It's lionized.
It is. I mean, reading his description, my first instinct as a manager is I want this guy on my team. He sounds reliable, dedicated.
He's the person who will save the project when it's on fire, the ideal industrial-era worker. But the source makes this point that, at first, this feels like a virtue. We're trained to applaud that sacrifice, but almost immediately, the text frames that virtue as his trap.
Because he was operating on a flaw in that initial maxim. He believed intensity plus time equals success. But let's look at the reality check. Years go by, Rohit is grinding. He's waiting for the breakthrough, waiting for the universe to hand him his gold star, and what actually arrives?
Not a promotion, not a massive win. The text lists his rewards as exhaustion, frustration, and a quiet resentment he didn't know how to explain.
Oof. That phrase, quiet resentment, that really jumps off the page. It's not some loud, angry outburst. It's a slow rot.
It's internal. It's the dissonance between what you think you deserve and what you're actually getting. And the source highlights the specific trigger for this, the comparison.
This is the part that drives people absolutely crazy. Rohit's looking around and he sees people he trained, people who leave at 5 p.m., people who take long lunches.
People who seem less serious about the grind.
And they're zooming past him, they're launching projects, they're getting the director titles.
And Rohit is still there, just grinding away at the same level. Now, it's important to note, Rohit wasn't just jealous. The text says he was confused.
The math wasn't adding up.
Not at all. If work equals success, and he has the most work, why does he have the least success?
This brings us to the core concept of the dangerous lie. Usually, when someone isn't succeeding, the advice is, well, you just need to want it more. You need to work harder.
Right, but you couldn't say that to Rohit. He was maxed out.
If you told Rohit to work harder, he'd have a stroke.
Exactly. The dangerous lie is this belief that effort acts as a universal currency that can buy any outcome. And the text states it so clearly. Effort without direction doesn't guarantee progress. It only guarantees fatigue.
That's a bumper sticker for the modern workplace right there. It only guarantees fatigue.
Think about the physics of it. The source uses the analogy of motion versus progress. Rohit was incredibly busy. If you audited his time, every minute was accounted for.
He was moving constantly.
But movement without alignment is just friction.
It's like running a marathon on a treadmill. You're sweating, your heart rate is up, you are totally exhausted, but you haven't actually left the room.
Precisely. He was multiplying his effort, but he was multiplying it by zero direction. He was generating heat, not light. Burning fuel, but not traveling.
And human beings? Well, we aren't machines. You can only run the engine at the red line for so long before you blow a gasket. Which brings us to the crash.
It was inevitable. The text describes the day everything just stopped. It wasn't a philosophical choice. It was doctor's orders. Severe burnout.
His body just went on strike.
It did. He was medically forbidden from the long hours and the late nights.
Which, for a guy like Rohit, whose entire identity is built around being the hardest worker, that must have felt like a death sentence.
It felt like total failure. He felt stripped of his only asset. But, and this is the pivot point of the entire case study, this forced pause created the one thing Rohit never allowed himself to have.
Space.
Space. To actually think.
And in that silence, the questions changed.
They had to. The source says he'd spent his whole life asking, how can I work harder? Or how can I squeeze more into this hour?
What was the new question?
The new and truly terrifying question was, is this the right work?
Ooh, that is a scary question to ask when you've been doing the work for 10 years.
It's terrifying because it threatens to invalidate a decade of effort. And the text points out a psychological trap here that I find fascinating. Rohit realized his busyness was actually a defense mechanism.
A defense against what?
Against the anxiety of ambiguity. Staying busy feels productive. It releases dopamine. But really, it was a way to avoid the uncomfortable reality that he didn't know where he was going.
It's easier to answer emails for 3 hours than to sit for 20 minutes and ask.
Does any of this actually matter?
Wow. So the grind was basically an anesthetic.
That's it. He was chasing approval, looking like the hardest worker, rather than chasing purpose.
So he's crashed, he's thinking, and he starts looking at those successful people again, the ones who passed him. But this time, he's not looking with confusion. He's analyzing them.
And he realizes they weren't just lucky. They had what the source calls the missing ingredients. The text breaks this down into 4 specific components. It wasn't that these successful peers didn't work hard. They did, but they worked selectively.
Let's walk through these, because I think this is the toolkit. This is the how-to part of this whole thing. Ingredient number 1, clarity.
Clarity is the North Star. It decides direction. Without it, effort is blind. Go back to the driving analogy. You can have a Ferrari engine. That's your hard work.
But if you're driving blindfolded, pressing the gas pedal harder doesn't get you there faster.
It just ensures you crash at a higher speed.
So Rohit was just pressing the gas.
He was flooring it. But because he didn't have clarity on exactly what outcome he wanted, he was trying to drive everywhere at once, just reacting to everyone else's demands.
Which leads to the second ingredient, and I think this is the one that's most often misunderstood in the corporate world: leverage.
This is a huge concept. In physics, a lever lets you move a massive object with a small amount of force. In work, the text distinguishes between work that multiplies and work that repeats.
Okay, break that down. What does repeating work look like versus multiplying work?
So think about Rohit's day. He was likely doing tasks that required his direct manual intervention every single time. He sends an email, he gets one result, he sits in a meeting, he solves one problem.
If he stops doing it, the value stops. It's linear.
Exactly. Input equals output. But the successful people, they were obsessed with leverage. They were building systems, creating templates, writing code, training teams. Work that you do once, but that pays you back forever.
So if I write a playbook for my team on how to solve a problem, I don't have to solve it next time.
That is leverage. You've just disconnected your time from your output. Rohit was trapped in linear growth because he was addicted to being the hero who jumps in to fix things manually. He was too busy digging the hole with a spoon to stop and build a shovel.
That's a great image. Hard work without leverage caps your growth because you just run out of hours in the day.
You hit the ceiling of 24 hours. Leverage is how you break that ceiling.
Okay, ingredient number 3. This one's tricky because it feels like luck, but the source argues it's actually a skill. Timing.
The invisible factor. And the source puts it so bluntly, hard work cannot override bad timing.
Yeah.
You could work incredibly hard launching a product that the market just doesn't want yet.
Right. Or you could be the hardest working fax machine salesman in 2024. You are grinding. You are making the calls.
And you will fail. Not because you're lazy, but because you are misaligned with the environment. Rohit learned that effort has to align with markets, trends, and what the organization actually needs.
But how do you even teach that? Is it just keeping your eyes open?
It's about getting your head up. Rohit was so focused on his tasks, head down, in the weeds, that he couldn't see the wave coming. The successful people were looking at the horizon asking, where's the company going? Where's the industry going? And positioning themselves there.
And finally, the fourth ingredient. This is the one that probably felt the most sinful to Rohit. Boundaries.
Oh, for a grinder like Rohit, a boundary just looks like laziness. If he said no to a request, he felt like he was betraying his entire code. He thought sacrifice proved commitment.
But the text flips that completely. It says boundaries aren't laziness, they are strategy.
Because constant availability diluted his impact.
Yeah.
Think about it. If you say yes to everything, you are effectively saying that nothing is a priority. Your energy gets spread so thin.
Like butter scraped over too much bread.
Exactly. Becomes useless. The successful people he watched, they were ruthlessly guarded with their time. They said no to the trivial so they could attack the vital with massive force.
They understood opportunity cost. Every yes to a small thing is a no to a big thing.
That's it.
That is such a hard shift to make, though. It brings us to the section on redefining discipline, because let's be real, switching from work hard to work smart feels, I don't know, risky, like you're cheating.
It feels incredibly risky. And the text addresses this emotional struggle directly. Effort is visible. If you're sweating, if you're at your desk at 8 p.m., people see it. It feels virtuous.
You can tell yourself, well, at least I'm trying. No one can blame me.
Exactly. But strategy is invisible.
Strategy's silent.
It's sitting in a chair, staring at a wall for an hour, thinking. To an outside observer, and even to your own internal critic, that looks like you're doing absolutely nothing.
So Rohit felt guilty.
He felt like a fraud. The source notes that he struggled with the question, if I stop pushing, who am I? His identity was so wrapped up in the struggle that peace just felt like failure.
But the text gives a really strong warning here. Persisting in the wrong direction is dangerous.
Yes, this is the sunk cost fallacy applied to effort. I've already worked this hard, I can't stop now. But hard work can actually be a sedative. It delays the realization that you need to correct course.
As long as you're working hard, you can tell yourself success is just around the corner.
When in reality, you might be driving south when you needed to go north. And if you're driving south, driving faster is the worst possible thing you can do. You have to stop.
So how did he get past the guilt? What was the new rule that replaced work harder?
He had to redefine discipline. Discipline isn't doing more. It's doing what matters consistently. He shifted his metrics.
This is key. Stop measuring hours, start measuring impact.
Right. He stopped measuring exhaustion. He used to wear his tiredness like a badge of honor. Oh, I'm so swamped. Now he measured outcomes. Did the project move forward? Did revenue change? It didn't matter if it took 2 hours or 10 hours. The outcome was the only metric.
And this brings us back to the central metaphor of the source material. We have the compass and the engine.
It's the perfect visualization. Hard work is the engine. You need it. A car with no engine goes nowhere, no matter how good the map is.
Right, you can't just strategize your way to success without actually doing the work.
But direction strategy, clarity, boundaries, that is the steering. That's the compass. The source concludes, without both, you either crash or you stall. Rohit had a V12 engine and no steering wheel.
You know, it reminds me of that feeling when you're driving and you miss a turn, but you're going so fast you don't want to slow down to turn around. So you just keep driving fast in the wrong direction, hoping the road eventually loops back.
That is exactly it. It's the fear that stopping to check the map is a waste of time. But the most efficient thing you can do is stop and check the map.
So Rohit finally did stop. He checked the map. He installed the steering wheel. What was the result? This is the section the text calls the silent advantage.
And I really appreciate that the story doesn't end with, and then Rohit became a billionaire and bought a rocket ship.
Yeah, it's not a fairy tale.
No, it's grounded. It says he didn't become famous, he didn't chase external validation anymore, but his work finally mattered.
And the benefits were tangible. Burnout faded. Confidence grew.
That's the silent advantage. When you have clarity, you don't need the loud external validation of being the busiest person in the office because you know your work is moving the needle. You have an internal confidence that comes from effectiveness, not just effort.
It's the difference between being frantic and being focused. Frantic energy is loud. Focused energy is quiet.
And focused energy is sustainable. Rohit went from a sprint that never ended to a marathon he could actually finish.
It makes me wonder, though, why do we set people up for this? The text touches on why society fails us here. Why do we teach hard work so aggressively but leave out the compass?
Well, because work hard is easy advice to give. It's easy to teach, it's easy to measure, and it's easy to repeat. If I'm a manager, it's very easy for me to see if you're at your desk.
It's much harder for me to measure if you're aligned or leveraged. It's lazy management, essentially.
It is. It's also hard to teach someone when to stop. Those are nuanced skills. Just run faster is a simple command.
Just run faster is also a great way to injure yourself.
Precisely. And in a knowledge economy, which is what most of us are in running faster, is rarely the competitive advantage. Thinking clearer is the advantage.
So we've gone from the trap of blind effort through the crash, identified the missing ingredients, clarity, leverage, timing, boundaries, and redefined what discipline actually looks like.
It's a complete operating system update. We're moving from the grinder mindset to the strategist mindset.
And for Rohit, and hopefully for you listening, the new rule became work hard, but think harder. Pause often. Correct early.
Protect your energy. That's a big one the text emphasizes at the end. Treat your energy like a finite resource, like a bank account, not some infinite well you can just draw from forever.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the compass in the Engine, I think the biggest takeaway is that reassurance the text offers at the end.
Absolutely. The source speaks directly to the reader, and in our case, you, the listener. It says, if you are tired but not fulfilled, you are not failing, you are misaligned.
That is such a liberating distinction. You aren't broken. Your compass is just off.
Right. The solution isn't to beat yourself up or to double your caffeine intake. The solution is to fix the direction, then apply the effort. That is when hard work finally works.
I love that. It turns the problem into a mechanical fix rather than a character flaw.
Exactly. It's just mechanics. Connect the steering wheel.
Now, before we sign off, I want to leave everyone with a thought that came up while I was reading this. It's a bit of a provocative question, but I think it's necessary given what we just discussed.
Go for it.
If you stopped working so hard right now, if you just stopped the frantic motion, the checking of emails at dinner, the late nights, would you feel like a failure?
That gets deep.
And if the answer is yes, you have to ask yourself, are you working for the result, or are you just working for the feeling of being busy?
That's the question. Because the feeling of being busy creates a false sense of safety. But safety isn't success.
Something to chew on during your next commute. Hopefully a commute where you aren't rushing. Thanks for diving in with us.
Always a pleasure.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.